Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to talk about a massive billion-dollar question. Why do so many huge, ambitious projects, the ones meant to completely change the game, end up crashing and burning?
You've seen it happen, right? A project kicks off with this wide-open road ahead, just full of promise. But then, somewhere along the way, it just hits a total traffic jam. Progress grinds to a halt, everybody gets frustrated, and the whole thing eventually just gets abandoned. So, how do we go from a clear highway to a complete standstill? Well, let's trace the journey.
Every great transformation project starts with this exact vision. It's like a perfect brand new highway. And it's built for just one reason, to get you from where you are right now to where you want to be, which is success, as fast and as efficiently as humanly possible.
And that's the whole point, right? That direct path. I mean, think about it. When you're planning a road trip, you want the fastest route. No weird turns and no confusing detours. You just want a straight shot. That's the promise of a well-planned transformation. A clean, simple journey to a much better result. But almost right away, we hit the first crack in the pavement. Teams get so completely mesmerized by the destination, that shiny point B, that they make a huge and often fatal mistake. They forget to actually map out where they're starting from. This quote here, it just nails the core issue perfectly. The source material is crystal clear on this. Ignoring the current state isn't some minor oversight. Nope, it's a fundamental trap. And it's a trap that pretty much guarantees your project is going to take longer and cost way more than you ever planned. So, what's the payoff for doing all that initial mapping? Well, you get to create something called a change impact assessment, which is really just a fancy term for a super simple but powerful list. As you can see, it clearly lays out what people need to stop doing and what they need to start doing. It's basically the user manual for the entire transformation. And let's be really clear, this isn't just about paperwork. Knowing your starting point is, well, it's everything. It's how you train people effectively. It's how you communicate the changes clearly. It's how you get people to actually use the new system. Because if they don't, the entire project's value, that whole ROI you promised, it just evaporates. It really is that simple. But okay, even with a perfect map, you're probably going to hit a roadblock. And that brings us to the second huge mistake. When you're on that highway and suddenly the road is blocked, what's your first instinct? It's to find a quick detour, right? Well, in the world of projects, we call this the workaround. And in that moment, it feels like the smartest possible move. A problem pops up, the team slaps on a quick fix, and everybody just keeps moving. It feels like progress. It feels like you've dodged a bullet and relieved all that immediate pressure. But, as this quote points out, that feeling of relief is a total illusion. These workarounds are nothing more than band-aids. Sure, they cover up the symptom, but they do absolutely nothing to fix the real problem underneath. And that's where the journey starts to go really, really wrong. Let's make this really concrete with our highway analogy. So, step 1, the goal is simple, a 1-hour drive. But then, step 2, an obstacle. Some trees have fallen and blocked the road. Now, instead of clearing them, the team creates a workaround in step 3. They build a detour. And what's the immediate consequence? Step 4, the journey now takes longer. Now, that first detour might not seem like such a big deal. But what happens when you just keep applying band-aids instead of actually healing the wound? Well, that road to success, slowly and kind of sneakily, becomes the road to total gridlock. See, that first workaround isn't free. Our 1-hour trip now takes an hour and a half. That's a 50% increase in the time it takes to get things done, all from a single temporary fix. This is the first major red flag that your highway is in deep trouble. And oh, it gets worse. Because we never actually cleared the original problem, the trees, they've now started to damage the pavement underneath. So the root cause hasn't just been ignored, it's actively creating new problems. This is exactly what happens in projects. One workaround forces you to create another one, and then another one. And this is the death spiral. The people actually using the process get sick and tired of the delays. More band-aids get slapped on, which makes the whole thing a convoluted, frustrating mess. Until finally, people just give up. They get off the highway you built, find their own way, and abandon your project entirely. So, after traveling this whole road from a pristine highway to a complete disaster of a pileup, what's the one lesson we absolutely have to learn? How do we stop this from ever happening in the first place? And this is it. This is the single most important takeaway. The gridlock, the total failure, that's not the start of the problem. It's the inevitable end. The real failure happened way back at the beginning, with that first, seemingly harmless decision to build a detour instead of just clearing the trees.
This right here is the final nail in the coffin. When the official highway you've built becomes too slow, too bumpy, and just too frustrating, your users will always find a better route. They'll build their own dirt roads and shortcuts because the path you gave them just isn't viable anymore. And at that point, your project hasn't just failed, it's become completely irrelevant. So as we wrap this up, it really leaves us with a critical question to ask ourselves. When you look at your next big initiative, are you truly engineering a clear, direct highway to success? Or are you just paving over problems, creating a winding road of inefficient detours and a whole bunch of dead ends? Because the choice you make at that very first roadblock, that's what's going to determine your final destination.